an amazing show.
Post 2023 World Cup,
Yeah.
from my side, there's been a lot of reflection. You have to get it right in the biggest stage, in the biggest moment, and I wasn't good enough. It was honestly, probably one of the worst life experiences for me. How it kind of ended with Steve, it was probably for the best, and I know he would have trusted me, and I let him down. I truly am sorry, but for me personally, it was the best thing that's ever happened to me.
Do you want some water, mate?
Nah. Do you remember
mate,
when
I had that on my first
episode?
episode.
Well, when you speak your truth, that's what happens.
It happens. Yeah.
I saw that with you. I was cracking up.
Hello, Dream Team. Welcome along to what is the final show of what has been a quite remarkable season.
A long season.
It's been a long campaign, and we have reached the finish line. We are going to do some specials for you during, of course, the summer tours, but this is the Good, the Bad and the Rugby in partnership with our very good friends, as always, at Continental Tires. Tins and I are in our usual seats, and John May has brought in, for show and tell this week, all three of you have said it, the Daddy. Where does the nickname the Daddy come from?
I actually don't know.
No, you tell us you want. No.
Come on,
He tells
Carl.
us he wants to be called.
That's that person who picks his own
Call me
nickname.
Daddy.
I think it was Nathan Hughes once said it in camp, and then it just stuck.
You liked it.
Yeah, I haven't been called that for ages, to be fair.
It's a nickname that you say in different scenarios and in different ways can mean lots of different things.
That's very true. It's a good one. It's versatile.
It's versatile. Fits every scenario.
The
Hey,
second
Daddy.
thing to say, and Hask is always it's the first thing he says whenever your name is mentioned.
Yeah.
The back.
Where is he? Where is he? I was
Nobody
expecting-
knows.
He's
I
DJing.
don't bloody know.
As soon as he knew I was
He's
coming,
He's an
something.
international man of
As soon
mystery.
as he knew I was coming, he ran off, did he?
Yeah, he did. He did. He can't handle it, I don't think. But the other thing it says is the back is looking big.
Thank you.
How
yeah.
often do people compliment, and acknowledge the back?
No, to be fair, I've been head down, working quite hard and stuff. So, and obviously with the move for next season, I've made a conscious effort of just making sure, size-wise, I'm up to
You're
standard,
meeting the
because
demands
those guys are not small. So yeah.
Are you trying to put weight on? Or are you
No, I wouldn't say I'm trying to put weight on. I'm just trying to stay consistent with my training, as opposed to just completely resting. I think you'll probably agree, Jonny and Tins, you're probably maybe a bit too far removed from the game. But I find when you kind of get older, it's a weird one. As soon as you stop, all your aches and pains, all your niggles and your injuries feel so much more worse.
Right.
So I've just made a conscious effort of just doing a little bit as often as possible. And because the rugby demands aren't as much when the season finishes, there's a lot more weight sessions and stuff. And yeah, I think I've
Looking
got on
good.
some size.
Yeah, I can say that it doesn't change 10 years out. That's why I played until lockdown basically really scuppered me. And now my body is more sore than
Your
it ever
knee
was.
goes every other day now.
Yeah, no, it's
Points are away.
food
Got that to look forward to, John.
Yeah.
How are you, John? And tell us about the man that you've brought in for show and tell this week.
So yeah, we've got Daddy Bear, we've got Carl Sinckler. Maybe people do or don't know this about him, but he is a very, very diligent professional.
Good.
He knows what he needs, when he needs it, how he needs it, and he gets it. He'll find a way to make it happen, whatever that is, whether it's recovery, whether it's getting basted, is that the right word? Like a turkey?
Yeah.
You get basted.
Yeah.
Basted with deep heat before the game.
Right.
I
Yeah.
heard a lot about deep heat.
Deep
Yeah,
heat.
yeah, yeah.
There's that scene in With Ned and I.
Yeah,
I don't know if you've ever seen that.
You wouldn't want to come between Sink and his sniffing salts before the game. He needs
Right.
them. He needs his caffeine. He needs his fruit. He needs his recovery, his massage. He's addicted to. He was addicted to heat.
Yeah.
He loves heat, but no.
Sauna,
he,
yeah, I do like a sauna. I do
So
like
he
a
knows
sauna.
what he wants and what he needs, and he keeps the main. This is something I learned from Sinks. You got to keep the main thing, and he does. He does. He
What is
lives
the main thing?
the rugby. He knows his stuff. He gets himself right. He's the man. Sinks is the man.
Sounds like a perfect replacement for Hask.
Yeah, absolutely. Would it be fair? Are you a rugby Norse? Would you go so far as to say that you love it, live it, breathe it, watch it? Are you watching it because you're always trying to
Work.
get better?
Yeah.
Or are you watching it because you love it? Or
I would say a bit of both, really.
Both.
Obviously, I'm still a professional rugby player who's aspiring to be, one of the best, if not the best in the world in his position. And it's I find I can say, for instance, if I'm watching a game of rugby, whether it's Super, and I'm watching someone like, I don't know, Tyler Lomax, who will start for the All Blacks this summer, and it's I'll watch his scrums and be okay, what is he doing here? What's his foot position in this scrum? What are they working on? And it's you can kind of see, if you consistently watch the games, you can see there's like a theme that starts to build with certain players. So yeah, like I think it's a mixture of both. And obviously with the impending move abroad, it was like I wanted to really invest in kind of not being shocked when I got there. So subscribed to the old premium sports and got the French league on, and I watched that every week as well, just to make sure I kind of know what I'm getting myself into, to be honest. So no, it's I've always loved it. I've always loved sports, to be honest. Like whether it's rugby, football, cricket. That's kind of how I was as a kid. You know, I'd always just be out the house playing whatever it was, riding my bike, whether sun, rain or shine. I was just kind of out there. So yeah, I'm a big lover of sport.
We will talk about both of your moves to France a little bit later on. But what I'm loving is the fact we're hearing about how both of you, and we know, Jonny, how sort of particular you are about your prep, how professional you are. And this week you're both playing for the Barbarians, which is about the complete antithesis to anything professional.
Which is why
Tins is here as our special Alcoholics Anonymous representative for the famous black and white. For both of you, who gives you the call? Did you say I'd love to do it? How have you come about playing for the Barbarians this season,
It's
Jonny?
Steve Berwick.
Steve.
So he
Steve,
messaged me last year to do it with Eddie, but I couldn't. Cause
Yeah,
Steve,
me too,
Because Steve said we're not allowed to.
Yeah.
And then luckily enough, he messaged me again this year. So yeah, 100% up for doing it. Want to give it a go. But when Sync came around the corner, I was like, mate, how are you feeling about this week? Because I'm incredibly excited, but I am also petrified.
Yeah.
There's two things.
I think it'll be good for you.
Yeah, it will be. I'll tell you what, if this week goes well, I'm going to have some serious questions at the end of the week. I'll be like,
Imagine Jonny May man the match, 4 tries. I've been doing it wrong.
Yeah, I've
my
been
whole
doing it.
life.
I've been doing it
Jonny
wrong.
May sober is quite hard to track on a rugby field. Jonny May drunk on a rugby field could be unplayable.
But yeah, I am petrified, but I'm going to buy into it, give it a good go, try and enjoy it. Let's see how it goes.
What about you, Sinks?
Yeah, similar to what Jonny is said just there. It's a bit of nerves, but I think it will be good for
Are
us.
you more nervous about the rugby or about the off-field?
It's probably more I actually am more nervous about the alcohol.
Yeah, no, the rugby, we could play rugby in our sleep. That's kind of that's all we kind of know. So the rugby's not the issue. It's about getting the balance right between, I feel anyway, correct me if I'm wrong here, John, especially when you're coming into a new group, a lot of experienced players, a lot of younger players. It's like you wanna build those bonds and you want to build those relationships, and
That's what the beers are for.
yeah, exactly. And to be fair, a lot of things have changed in rugby, but I would say the number one kind of way to bond a team is always just kind of through like a night out and having a few beers and having a few deep conversations. But then it's about getting that balance right. Because we've got a test match against Fiji at the end of the week, and there are no mugs, and especially up front, that was one thing in the World Cup that they just kept getting better and better at, was their scrum and their set piece. So
just make sure you invite them out as well.
Yes.
Completely derail them.
I'd hope they join us. It would only be right to do so, wouldn't it?
You're absolutely right.
But I googled, like when I was like staring up at the ceiling last night, how long does alcohol stay in your system for?
Right.
Why would you Google that? Why?
Because I don't want it in my blood cells, like when I'm trying to run quick or run. Yeah, but it's 72 hours. So I'm thinking, right, probably get drunk tonight. Gonna have to probably get drunk tomorrow night, and then I can sort of try. That's sort of where I'm thinking. Well, definitely tonight. That's 72 hours. It can stay in your hair for 90 days. I'm not too worried about it being in my hair.
Right.
But like the thought of it in my red blood cells.
You've never changed.
I just couldn't deal with this going on in my head. It's like, just put as much in as you can, then run it off in the morning, and then sweat it out, and then you go again.
There aren't many as proud Barbarians as you were. There aren't many who carried the old school into the professional era quite like you. What is in store for two of the finest running machines of the English game?
It all depends on what everyone else is feeling. Not everyone is always on the smash. There's always a group that go on the smash, and then there's a group who just drink at dinner, then go home, and you can have early nights. So it's not. It is whatever you want it to be, and it'll sort of be what Robbie Dean sets as the tone. Because Barbarians always goes through that point of going, does it have a valid place now in professional sport and everything else? And I think it does, because it delivers the message of what rugby's built on the social side of it and how it can bring people together. So I think no one wants to get hammered now, hammered on the field in terms of at a game time. You want to be competitive. You want to enjoy yourself, and that's what you've got to get used to. Is as much as you want to try and put structures in place for how you play, you can't do it. So you actually have to change your mind out a little bit and go, right, I just want to make an impact on the game, so I want to carry or I want to be involved, because not always can you get it set up structure wise. So you need to just have people who
That's
carry.
what I'm really looking forward to,
Yeah, me too.
because like, well, probably more so Sinks would talk about Pat Lam and his regime at Bristol, but like the amount of time we spend at Gloucester, most Premiership with walkthroughs of this line out and this restart and this scenario and that scenario, and we practice them so much to the point where like it's not that fun. I don't think we need to overcomplicate it as much as we do.
But that's the wonderful thing about the Barbars, and we used to do the game every summer because it was always England's warm-up game before they then went off on tour.
Yeah.
And one of the great things about the Barbars is you can completely deconstruct the game. No one else knows quite what they're facing
nightmare
because
to
they're
play
Yeah,
against.
it was. It
defensive
was always tough.
But
It was
this
always
week,
tough.
if you deconstruct it against Fiji, you're actually giving them the superpower because that's
Yes.
exactly how they like. So
It
it could be one of the most extraordinary games of all
They're a
time.
lot more structured than you think. They
true.
box kick it a fair bit. They're set piece. They're
Well, that was the big
pragmatic.
change in the World Cup.
Yeah, they have changed a lot. But you're right, Fiji boys, join us for Carver. What day? Thursday Carver.
Friday lunchtime.
Friday lunchtime. Just come
Yeah.
for a Carver.
What socks are you both wearing?
I was undecided. I might wear my
One and
first
one?
rugby club, Battersea Ironsides.
Which is a phenomenal. So my boy's 12 and plays at Richmond. Battersea Ironsides is one of the great grassroots clubs. Every time we ever play them, your name is mentioned.
Yeah. Well, it's
Have you got shares?
I know. I'm assuming the clubs looks. Well, I know the club looks a lot different now than when
Yeah.
I was there. From what I hear, it's like the biggest. It's got the biggest mini section in
Yeah,
the country.
that's right.
What team
Whereas
is this again? Sorry?
It's just
Battersea
Battersea
Ironsides.
Ironsides. Like over 1,000
Oh,
kids,
okay.
Johnny.
It's
Genuinely.
remarkable.
And when I played there, we couldn't even field a team of like 15. Like literally, we were driving past people on the road,
him
being
up.
like, "Do you guys fancy a game? Have you got a son? How old is he? Yeah, get him in." You
get
know.
him in.
Pick
And like
him
we
up.
play the pitch because they've got like it looks totally different now, but you'd have to walk to the pitches, which was called DSP Dogshit Park, and like we'd have to go do laps of the pitch because obviously it's just a normal park and people would be drinking on it and leaving bottles and stuff. So it was it's a totally different club to when I joined. So I'm undecided whether to wear the Battersea Ironsides or wear one Quins, one Bristol. I'll kind of just feel
Work it out on
and
the
then-
day.
Yeah, just work it out. So yeah.
John?
I am proudly going to be wearing my Angoulême socks.
Are
the
you?
owner of Angoulême, Didier, hand delivered them to the Marriott this weekend. Last weekend
From
just gone
Angoulême?
from Angoulême. Yeah, he was at Harrods with his wife girlfriend, and her 2 children, and they were staying at Harrods, and he hand delivered my purple Angoulême socks. So I'm going to be a proud wearer of my new team socks.
Amazing. Have you got a try-scoring celebration lined up, ready to go, should you cross the whitewash?
I saw that on the brief, and I was thinking, screw it. If I score a try, shall I have a shot of black-eyed gin?
We'll put a little, like a thimble into your sock, which you can take
Yeah,
out.
you put it down the
No,
post
what
pad.
do
Turn
they
RTD
drink?
down the
What's,
post pad.
Well, we could have a waiter.
No,
we
I know
have a
what it-
waiter
I know
under
what
the
it is.
post
So funny.
No, I
with
know
a
what
silver
we need.
tray.
But if you can organise that, you've got the promotion and the
Yeah.
infrastructure at Good Bad Rugby to host and sort that. But what I was thinking is, what is it just called a flask?
Yeah, hip flask.
Yeah, I'd get one of them.
There's actually something in that. Can you imagine if you played a game whereby every time someone scored, they had to have a drink, and so over the 80 minutes you were getting
I
increasingly.
couldn't think of anything worse, to be honest.
Yeah, no, I'm sure. Okay. We'll put that one on ice.
Yeah.
Good luck this weekend. I can't wait to watch. It'll be
Very
a lot of fun.
excited.
Shall we talk a bit about France?
Mm-hmm.
Because we obviously have. No, I think we've actually caught up since you've announced your move
No.
to Angoulême. You're obviously off to Toulon. You said you're packed up and ready to go.
Really.
Johnny, first of all, tell us how it's come about, why Angoulême, where you're at, and what the expectations are, and
Yeah,
when you're
so
moving.
where am I at with it? I'm really, really excited. I'm a big believer in things happen for a reason and they fall into place, and this is just the right thing for me and my family. A very exciting opportunity. It's been a bananas a few months.
Can you share some of the
Yeah, I can.
clubs you're
So
about to go to?
my agent would say, I don't know, maybe once you speak to his rule of thumb is once you speak to a head coach, it's 90% a done deal. I spoke to a Japanese coach, an American coach, and a URC teams coach, and it was all very, very positive. And got to the last bit and then just fall through, which was like a bit crazy, really. And the Angoulême conversation I had a couple weeks ago, and I wasn't sure at first, and I said to them, I'm just a little bit hesitant to agree because when I've never heard of Angoulême, and I said to them, when I think of France, I think of like Biarritz and Toulon, like Montpellier, places I've heard of, and I'm worried because I haven't heard about where it is. Is my wife just going to be a little bit remote and lonely? That's an important balance that's got to be considered. So my first response was, sorry, it's just I don't know enough about it, and I'm really grateful for your time and the chats I've had with you, and it's great people, and it was a tough decision, but no. And then I was sat at home on a Friday night last week, and I got a call from a French number, and it was Didier, my new mate, said to me, "Hello, Jonny. Apologise for my English. Please speak to my wife, I keep calling her his wife. It's his girlfriend, Séverine." And then she takes over the phone and says, "Hello, Jonny. We understand you said no to Angoulême, and we want to know why." And then, I explained about my concerns around X, Y, Z. And we had a chat, and then they basically put me under pressure in that moment, very French-esque. So we have a deal, he said. And I was like, oh, okay, well, I best go talk to Sophie, my wife, and maybe we'll have another chat on Monday. And Séverine said, so my understanding is Séverine lives in Paris, and that's what she explained to me. There's a lot of people commute from Paris. It's less than 2 hours on the speed train, 20 minutes on the speed train to Bordeaux. You can fly to Bordeaux. Like, she explained all this to me. It's actually a very accessible, nice area with lots to do and amazing places, and it sounds amazing. Hopefully they haven't just sold me the dream, but I'll find out. And Séverine explained she goes back to Paris on Monday, so let's talk again tomorrow at 4 p.m. And 4 p.m. was literally half time of the Premiership final last weekend, or 8 days ago or whatever it was. And then me, Soph, Séverine and Didier had a phone call, and then within 15 minutes the contracts were over and I signed them, and that was it.
Wow.
Congratulations.
And then it's just so exciting. How
And
cool.
you are happy, relieved,
all of it.
slightly
All
signed
of
up to what you do or don't know very well?
Yeah, all of it. I'm so excited. Like, it goes a long way. Like, and I'm not the sort of person who needs, what's the word I'm using for? Like, I don't need my tyres pumped up.
Yeah.
But when somebody actively like values you
Comes
and
and gets
appreciates
you.
you,
It feels
and
nice.
it feels really nice. And I'm like, okay, like, yeah, these guys want me, and it's really, they've taken the time. The coaches were amazing. They're giving me they're wanting to make this happen. And I was like, yeah, screw it. I want to go do that now. Like, it went a long way. Made me feel good, made me excited. The Pro League does a great league. You play Thursday, Friday nights. You get one every 4 weeks off. There's a competitive competition. There's some good teams to play. And I am ready at this stage of my career. I still want to play, like, rugby is still going to be very important. I'll be proud of the performances I put in. I'll still try to be the very best player I can be. But in the same breath, like, I don't need the pressure that I've been under for the last decade, i.e. playing Champions Cup, being on the telly, playing at Gloucester, a team that's close to my heart, and the pressure and the attachment I have to that adds to the stress. You take it home. Do you see what I mean? So just a step down in pressure. This is a great test week for it with the Barbars. But yeah, step down in pressure, just enjoy my rugby, really buy in. I want to learn French. I'm just so excited.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's all worked out really cool.
I actually went on holiday near there last
Did you
year.
really?
Yeah, it's not far from Bolsh. You can drive down and see Bolsh as well.
It's sort of, imagine an equilateral triangle.
Yeah.
Got La Rochelle at the top,
Yeah.
Bordeaux at the bottom, and inland is Angoulême.
I don't think I've ever heard you speak this much, John, in like the 9
come a
years
long-
or 10
he's
years
come a long
we've
way,
been
hasn't
playing
he?
with each
I've
other.
said I'm opening up.
You are.
I'm GBR
Literally.
unraveling me.
It's very,
Literally.
It's a great
It's good to
process.
see. It's good to see.
We're all on the Johnny May journey.
Yeah.
What's interesting about your move is that it is, as you've said, it's a sort of lifestyle. It's the perfect chapter for where you're at in your career, which is obviously having retired from England. Yours is slightly different because there's
Very different.
still a lot of potential.
Sinks is
Very
he's on the
the
way up.
international
He's not finished yet, this guy.
Toulon. How's this come about? Why now?
Look,
Tell us
I
your story.
think you kind of probably, if we want to really get into it, you have to kind of. For me, it's been I'll say post 2023 World Cup.
Yeah.
From my side, there's been a lot of like reflection, and that's kind of where I've been. And why I haven't really done any kind of like media or been on any kind of podcasts or anything like that. It's more about, taking the time to reflect and then make a move that I felt was best for me. and my career, and for me to be the best player I can be. And like, if we're all being honest, and I'm, hold my hands up, I always I want to take responsibility, and I want to be the best rugby player I can be. But I really, after the reflection of the 2023 World Cup, I was in it wasn't my finest hour. Let's just put it like that,
Okay. In what way?
Well, one thing I've learned in terms of like World Cups, you can't just blag it last minute, if that makes sense. Like, it's like an Olympic cycle.
Yeah.
So it's like 4 years worth of work. I just wasn't good enough. Like, it's as simple as that. And at that time in my life, I'd say probably the start of that World Cup pre-season, Jonny, like mentally, it was all like Jonny mentioned at the start of the show, like in terms of like my diligence, my professionalism, my recovery, my stretches, my stuff I do outside, wherever I'm working with my performance coach at Save Your World, who Hask absolutely adores, or Margot Wells, or James, who's my osteo, or Remy, who's my physio, Tim, my car. I've literally got it all. Like, like I've got a whole team.
Entourage.
Yeah, I really do live this. But the main thing that I've really come to understand when it comes to sport, but life as well, is attitude. If your attitude's not right, all of that stuff is futile. And leading up to that World Cup, I just wasn't, my attitude wasn't where it needed to be.
And can you put your finger on why, when you talk about the Olympic cycle and the opportunity to go to the biggest party in the sport, so to speak, why you found it a bit of a struggle to get yourself where you wanted to get to?
I think, so like 2019, unbelievable experience. It kind of all just hit me. It was like the perfect storm in terms of like the way the team was, in terms of how I was playing. Like, that was, honestly, I could have taken a drop kick from 50 meters out and it would have probably worked, and it all just started to click. And then I'd say from that, maybe, if I'm being honest, maybe a sense of like entitlement probably kicked in. I remember coming back off that World Cup, it was like, okay, I need a contract that, I feel like I deserve. All me, all I. And a lot of that, in the 4-year cycle kind of backfired on me, just kind of that mindset, and that kind of victim mindset where you feel like the world owes you something and like everyone's against you. And I feel like that, in the end of the day, really did hinder my World Cup experience. And it's about me taking like full responsibility for that and learning from it, essentially. Even though it was honestly probably one of the worst life experiences for me, coming on in that World Cup semi-final, and we were winning, weren't we? And it was like only like 25, 30 minutes came on, and then obviously tighted prop scrum is, no matter goes good or bad, you got to take responsibility. And it did. The scrum obviously fell apart, and you got to take responsibility for that. And that just kind of mirrored my 4-year cycle, like coming to that moment where you have to get it right in the biggest stage, in the biggest moment. And I wasn't good enough.
That's unbelievably honest of you. I mean, what does that journey look like from that moment relative to where you're at now? I mean, you've got an entourage. Have you got people you can talk to?
I would say obviously my performance coach at Saviour. We've had some tough conversations. Some really, really tough conversations. And for me, it's been more about really just accepting it, to be honest. And like, coming to terms, like, no one is against you. And like, the way my mind would work would be like, it's like, John, when you're in that environment and the team gets put up for training and you're like, fuck, I've been dropped, or something like that. And literally, like, it was the most finite and like minute things. And it would just be like, oh, coach don't like me, or something's not, like, and it just, I pushed, I would say I pushed Steve and the coaches probably so far where they're just like, it's not worth it, regardless of how talented you are and what you can do. It's like, you're a 30-year-old, 31-year-old man. It's all good when you're 18, 19, early 20s, the young kid on the block who's got a few anger issues, and, You know, it's actually quite endearing looking after a young man, and you want him to do good. Whereas, like, I can see it now from Steve's perspective and the coaches. It's like, look, we've been thrust upon this job after an awful autumn. Six Nations didn't, you know, it was better, but it wasn't great. We've got to get results, and it's like, I can't trust this guy. And you know, in the biggest moment where it was all on the line, I wasn't good enough.
What sort of conversations have you had with Steve at the time, recently? Have you
We've
been in touch?
We've spoken now and then. You know, I've got a lot of respect for Steve. And I think the process kind of, what you were saying in terms of the France move, I think it was probably best for the both of us, for me to kind of step away, him to try out different options. And, you know, we spoke about a numerous amount of things, but I think the biggest thing that I left with that conversation was like, it's not good enough. Obviously, I let Steve down, but I let the country down, but most of all, I let myself down, you know? But the way I'm trying to, it's only an L if you don't learn from it, you know? I'm trying to learn from that last 4-year cycle. And literally, it's like, change my whole mindset in the way I approach things, the way I see the world, the way I engage in conversation, the way I look after my body. There was a lot of things kind of behind the scenes that I wasn't truthful about, which really hindered my performances on the field.
Is that a sort of training thing or a physical thing,
Lifestyle.
or?
Well, for me, rugby, and from what I've been taught, rugby is life and life is rugby. Like, I can only think of like 1 or 2 players who, if their personal life is like an absolute mess, can just flick that switch and then on the weekend be like completely like unbelievable. Like, for me, if my personal life or the way I am off the field isn't great, like, that's how I'm going to play. And it's just about, but a lot of that is on me. Everything that happened to me was all my own doing. And that was probably the hardest thing to accept. It's like, am I really that am I that like hard work, you know? Like, I was so like miffed, you know, but when you have that space and you're not in the washing machine of being in camps, Six Nations, speaking to coaches, you got to do this, you got to do that, preparing for tours, you kind of have that space to be like, man, like, I really messed this up. And like you said, in terms of the support team I have with Hask's best friend, Saviour, you know, we've had some really, really tough conversations, but also like some really, I'll say, life-changing conversations and learnings that I can take, because it's like, if I learn from these experiences, like, I genuinely believe like the world can be my oyster. Like, there's no limitations on anything.
Yeah.
But it's a tough lesson to learn when you've got the whole country's hopes on the team. The way that World Cup panned out as well, it was like the worst kind of like prep in terms of guys were getting banned left, right and centre. I like tore my pec a week before the tour happened. Yeah. And then they were saying I'll be out for 10 weeks, and I was
let me just jump in on that story quickly, because it was the week after the Ireland game.
It was the Thursday before we played Fiji.
Yeah, before. But anyway, it was Sink had a pec tear, and it was, the chat was going, because Anthony had a calf tear. There was boys dropping down, and like everybody was like,
Faz got
the ban.
Yeah, banned, didn't he? Billy got
banned. But yeah, everybody was like, Sink's tore his pec, and he's got his scan back. He won't be coming to the World Cup. Everybody was just like, fucking hell, Sinks is not coming. But Sinks was like, I'm not going home. Sinks was literally like, I'm not going home, it's fine, the scan's a load of rubbish and my pec's fine, look, and he's in the physio room doing press-ups and saying, nah, it's a load of rubbish. And it wasn't until he went for a second opinion, they were like, yeah, this guy can come to the World Cup. So it's just the things people don't realise at home watching, but like behind the scenes, like there's stuff going on, whether that's with your body or off field, or there's stuff going on for everybody. But but like, even over my head now.
Even in that incident there, Jonny, like, I can look back on that and like I brought that injury on myself. Like, it wasn't bad luck in terms of like my mindset that week. Like,
it was in training, wasn't it?
It was in training, yeah. But I was like, I think obviously Steve was under a lot of pressure and with the team, and like I was like really desperate to play because I didn't really play in the World Cup warm-up matches, and I obviously wanted to start and play. And it was like, I didn't know if I was playing, if I was on the bench, if I, you know, and I was just like, just the thoughts that I was having in my own head were really, really detrimental to me. And then obviously I was just in I've hit thousands of scrums in my career. We're just in a normal scrum. It was just, last scrum before training, literally tore my pec. I was like, oh, fuck, like what's happened here? But then again, something now I can sit back and have the appreciation is like the support team I have around me with my performance coach, Margot Wells, who I train with, James, my osteo. Like he flew out before for the Argentina game. Like I flew him out. The physio is gonna watch this and be like, fucking, what is this guy on? But we literally were staying in that hotel by the airport in Marseille.
Yeah.
It was like literally on the tarmac, but there was like this tiny little, there was like all these hotels next to each other. So I was like, look, this is it. Like I flew him out. He was there for like 4 days. And obviously when you're not in the team, obviously all the focus is on the team, and I was just kind of rehabbing. So it was like, okay, boom, do my rehab in the morning, kind of left to it. So I was just getting round the clock, like treatment. And then my performance coach prescribed me this like natural medicine, which was like unbelievable and like healed my muscles like that. And obviously I was doing the right things, but like I just think that mirrored my kind of like whole experience, you know? It was like, whereas 2019, it was just like I was building momentum. And then obviously what happened in the final happened in the final. This World Cup, it was just felt like I was always kind of chasing my tail. And now I've kind of been removed. And I'm not in that kind of environment now. It's like you can really sit back and look at things and be like, man, like I am my own worst enemies at times, you know?
Were the fixes instantaneous in terms of you knew what you had to do, or was it speak to your coach and he was like, well, you're neglecting this bit, or was it a layered
to
thing?
To be honest, Tins, I think I genuinely, now I can look back on it, I was genuinely a little bit delusional, like because I spoke to him straight after in the Stade de France, and it was like I was kind of like deluding myself. He couldn't really believe what
This was after the semi-final.
Straight after, like literally off the pitch, he was like, "You okay, bro? Do you want to give me a call?" Called him, and he couldn't believe like how, not like upbeat, but I was like, you know, like in that moment, all I had was all I had. I gave every bit I had, but like I know I can be way better than that. Do you know what I mean? Everyone knows I can be way better than that, you know? But it was just like in that moment, it was like a state of like, you know, when you don't want to accept it. And you're just kind of like, oh, like it was strange. It was a really, really strange sensation of just like how far I'd lost myself from like reality in terms of like I didn't understand the gravity of the situation. And obviously, you know, when we played like the third place playoff and kind of said our goodbyes and stuff like that, and then you come home and you're just kind of like, fuck, like what has kind of just happened? But it's just a lot of soul searching, because it's easy, like for us, Jonny, it's easy for us to do, you know, lift weights, run, all the physical stuff's easy, but to actually like dive deep into like your psyche and the way you think and why you do certain things is, for me, that's way tougher than, you know, don't get me wrong, playing South Africa and their forwards are, you know, the best I've ever faced in my career, but actually, you know, looking at yourself and seeing why you do certain things and why you think certain things and why you behave, and going back to like when you were a kid and literally just stripping it all back. Like for me, that's way harder than anything physical, and that's kind of the process I've been on since then. And yeah, it's been tough, but now I can kind of see, if I do the right things, I can kind of see how this hopefully redemption story can play out in the next 4 years.
I love the fact we're talking in the midpoint of it, and
Yeah.
we will follow with massive interest what comes next. Honest answer, did you know that he was struggling during the World Cup mentally?
It's funny how he says about like a 4-year cycle and then the chasing your tails a little bit, and I think it wasn't just for Sinks like that. It is pretty rogue to fire your coach, rightly or wrongly, at Six Nations before a World Cup. All of a sudden, you don't know where you stand. You don't know if you're going to play. I had a little bit of that. In some ways, it was I felt like I had to play a World Cup before I went on the World Cup, because I had to get selected.
Yeah, your experience was like your experience was just crazy, because you didn't play the Six Nations.
No.
And then you came into the
World Cup
pre-season, but then he said you wasn't in the squad, but then you wanted to train.
Yeah.
You had to train for like 2 weeks.
Yeah, and then
and like honestly, Jonny, that for me in that moment, I was like, and now I can sit back and look at it now. Like that was like, I was like, fair play to you, man. Like that, in terms of like how you handle yourself and be like a proper professional, like that is, if I was the person I am today, like I would have taken inspiration from that. But I was so like locked in, woe is me and everyone's against me when nothing was literally wrong.
Yeah.
Like you literally could have just been like, F you, I'm done. I've got 60 odd caps. I'm done. Like, why am I here? You'd be like, nope, I'm going to train. I'm going to train hard. I'm going to get my head down. And I remember watching you like after training, like running like a fucking man. Like, but it was like Jonny just got on with it, didn't complain. He was like, I'm going to work. Because that's all you know at the end of the day, you know? And it's like, man, like looking back on it now and bringing that to my attention, it was like, if I was the person I am now, looking at that was like truly inspiring. And you really did reap what you sowed, because it all kind of, obviously gutted
fell
for
into
Ant.
place.
Gutted for Ant, what happened to him, but everything happens for a reason, you know? So.
And then for like, again, thinking back, like Sinks wasn't himself that World Cup. Quiet. It all comes. I do remember the pet tear now, and it was bizarre. Like he's been told, the scan was terrible, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was awful.
But then you do like, you respect
awful.
the scan, but you treat the man.
Yeah.
And we making sense here?
Yeah.
So like, if you see a scan and it's like not looking good, you've got to respect that. But ultimately, you treat the man, because if the man, he's obviously a big guy, strong guy. If this guy can compensate or function, we're not going to send this tight head home. And like. Sinks was literally like, I'm not going home. Scans loaded. He was saying it, and we were like, and Sinks is crazy.
I'm always a big believer at like how powerful your words are, and like that was probably the only time throughout that whole 6-month process, those like 2 or 3 weeks where I was like really positive. Yeah, I was really had that like self-belief, that hunger and that drive back, because it was like it was so close for me being taken away.
But sometimes you are crazy.
But I remember I went to the specialist, and I don't honestly, I don't really believe in all this specialist jargon. And that. It's like, how are you? You're
telling everybody you're
I'm the specialist of my own body. Like, how can you tell me how I feel? That makes no sense to me. Do you see what I'm saying? But like people like probably watching, and the specialist are like, this guy's an idiot. But like I think sometimes you have to kind of like fool yourself. Don't get me wrong, I'd test it. I'd be like, I'm fucked here, like this doesn't feel good. But every day I was just like,
got better.
I just never said to myself, I never even said I was injured. I just said, I'm just...
You didn't, no.
Yeah, so...
But with being injured, like he says, it probably, all of a sudden, you're isolated a little bit from the group.
I was just chasing my tail, the whole thing, Jonny,
And
like
there was other boys who found it, I think like the leadership, like Courtney, Genji and Faz, like that wasn't a group that had found its harmony instantly. And
did they then find their harmony?
Pardon? Yeah, we got hold of it. We did. We got hold of it once we got out to Le Touquet in France and stuff. But it was the nature of what happened.
It was
before.
all very last minute.
Like Sink says, it's a 4-year process which we nailed.
It's the Olympics.
2015 to 2019. Eddie comes in, build, trial error, boom, get rid of them, keep these guys in, build. 2019, come back, step forward, step back, step forward, down here, different coach, new players, new program. It was, and we did bloody well considering.
If you think about it from our experience of it and us having to talk about it every week, it was like, what the fuck is this maelstrom that's going on, especially around those warm-up games.
It'd make a good reality TV series.
Those warm-up games, and Faz sending off, and then the fucking
Billy got sent off as well.
Yeah, Billy gets sent off, and you're like, oh my God, let's have no one else. Then Faz gets sent off. Then that whole media shit kicks off because
he got off the ban and then got
rebanned. And then the lawyers went and did. So chaos then ensued. And then I actually think that Argentina game probably was a key thing.
How good
the
was
shit
40,
hit the fan again. But then the end of it came out finding a way to win. And I think that probably actually helped bring the calmer waters that then took you on and brought you actually closer together. Because that's all any of the boys that I ever spoke to when we were in France were like, yeah, we're all coming together. We're just ignoring all the shit. You were doing that thing where Wiggy had pinned things up that people were saying about
social media Mondays. They still do that now, I think, which is good to hear.
And flip it around to actually use it as a positive and a fuck you. But it's amazing to hear the inside story.
What's really interesting for me, you don't do a lot of media. You certainly haven't done recently. I remember doing something with you straight off the back of 2019, and your story around that tournament you sort of touched on. But what's been very interesting, particularly following you on social media, since then,
Yeah.
is that it feels like watching, and social media, as we know, is a microcosm
Yeah.
of the reality. But you
Yeah.
have been on this. You've done Save Your World for a number
Yeah.
of years. You've
Yeah.
had an entourage. You are
Yeah.
very proactive in building your support network.
Yeah.
Would you say that 2023 it dropped off, or actually has the journey just never quite got you to where you are now? Do you know what I mean? Did you regress into the Rugby World Cup 2023?
I like kind of like me and Jonny and stuff were saying, it's like the 4-year cycle. 2019, I was up here,
Yeah.
like untouchable. Like, even though we lost the World Cup final, personally, because I kind of got knocked out in the first 2 minutes, it was like, there was kind of that question, like, well, you know, if Sinks didn't get knocked out, it could have been a different story and stuff like that. So I kind of left that being like, yeah, I don't feel too bad here. Like, I kind of got away with one, even though I still to this day don't remember what happened. But it's the cause and effect of every, not like, it's not as intense as like every decision you make, but it's like, when I look back on it now, it's in terms of the social media stuff and what we want to put out there to inspire people and help others. Like, if you're not fully bought into that, and it's about deep down, and if deep down to your core, there's a tiny bit that's about yourself, or you care about what other people think about you, then like it won't work. And like, that's one of the biggest growths I'm in the process of making, is like really trying to be my authentic self and like step into being a role model for kids and the younger generation. But you can't do that when you're so concerned about like, oh, you know, what's this person thinking? What's that person thinking? And also like leaving your childhood trauma. There was my biggest thing that I guess I never really wanted to kind of get over. And I think it comes to that point in a man's life where you just kind of got to get over it, you know? Like, you can't carry this baggage for so long. For me, it was like that abandonment and betrayal. And that's where this kind of like victim mentality comes from. It's because I'm always concerned that someone's going to be like, I always deep down felt like I'm going to get betrayed. Like, Jonny might say, for instance, I'm eating breakfast in the morning and Jonny might come and grab my hips and be like, oh, you're looking a bit big today. And I'll be like, oh, yeah, like laughing, joking. But like deep down, that kid inside me being like, oh, Jonny's having a go at me. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. And it's like just stupid shit like that. And it's like, if the way I conducted myself in that 4-year cycle, I had a really bad back injury. Do you remember that one, Jonny?
Yeah.
Man, I couldn't even sit down. Like,
you had that brace on for...
No, well, I was hanging upside down. Do you remember?
Yeah.
I played like 6 or 7 games with a herniated disc. And I was like, in a bad way, again, like Jonny says with the specialist, I was like, nah, not getting surgery. Again, with intervention from my team and like you mentioned, Saviour World, like healed it naturally, which is like, I don't really know too many people who've healed such a big herniated disc, L4, L5, naturally in like 2 or 3 months, and felt great. But there was little things that were just like, I didn't feel myself after that because of like the neural damage that had happened to my leg. And I was just like, it just wasn't right. Like, because I needed to, there's no point having the team around you and everyone is geared towards you being the best possible professional, and then you don't disclose information like, mate, my hamstring doesn't feel right here. Whenever I run, I can't run at 100%. I'm running at 85%. If you don't tell your speed coach that, or your performance coach that, for 2 years or a year and a half leading up to World Cup, that's no good, is it? And there was loads of other things that were happening behind the scenes, loads of habits that I was doing that was not conducive to being a world-class athlete, that kind of all came out.
Can you share that sort of thing? Is that sort of physical, or is that?
I would just say it's a habit in terms of like, I wouldn't want to go too deep into it. Just like a lot of athletes do it.
Yeah.
I think Jonny, you know.
I know what he's talking about. Yeah.
Right.
A lot of athletes do it, and it's
stuff that takes you away from perfect prep.
It's not good for you. It's not good for your performance.
It's not that big a deal. Just say it. We can cut this if you don't want it in.
That's all right. Well, it's snuzz.
Right.
Yeah. Taking and doing snuzz.
Lots of snuzz.
Yeah.
Lots of snuzz.
But then when you look at that, it's like, okay, you've mentioned the social media stuff, and I'm talking about, you know, being a role model and doing this stuff for something that's bigger than myself, and some people, you know, gravitate to it and whatnot. But then it's like, from the whole thing was just a kind of a contradiction because I'd be saying that sort of stuff and then Jonny sees me stuff four sniffs.
It's powerful you mentioned it, mate, because a lot of people like in rugby are hooked on this stuff.
Yeah.
Really?
And I don't know
Yeah.
enough about it, but it
Yeah.
can't be good for us.
No, it's not.
I
It's
took
not.
it, I took it once. I would never take it again.
Yeah. But it's
They're the pouches you put in
yeah,
your gum.
yeah,
aren't
nicotine
they?
pouches. But like,
Yeah.
it's
Put it in
frightening.
the like down
Yeah.
the gum.
It's
don't you?
frightening.
Yeah.
Boys, well, in every walk of rugby now, it's everywhere.
So I initially got introduced to it when I was a younger player. I can't remember how many years ago, but I actually I was losing weight at the time, and it actually helped with like suppressing
Suppressing
my
appetite,
Yeah,
probably,
suppressing
yeah.
my appetite, and then obviously the habit kicks in, and then you
It's very addictive, isn't
very
it?
addictive, and then you pick up like pec injuries, you pick up certain kind of injuries. But in terms of like where I want to be and who the man I want to become, I can't be saying one thing on the socials and putting out a message like that, and then behind closed doors I'm acting like a victim. The
Yeah.
world's against me, and I'm doing snuzz. It
Yeah.
makes no. It's the whole thing is just it doesn't work like that, you know. So it's like at the end of the day, I reaped what I sowed, you know.
Can I ask you a question, which is that you are an inspiration as a rugby player, and
Yeah.
your journey has been one of extraordinary highs with England. You're talking very freely and honestly about some of the challenges you've had, but actually, I think a lot of people would be far more interested in the inspiration of your life story,
Yeah.
which is a remarkable one in many ways. I remember when you burst on, I think it was 2016, you went to Australia and basically
Yeah,
you were
yeah,
given
yeah.
the remit, you and Ellis just go around smashing everything in training.
yeah.
And that was sort of fairly symptomatic of who you were, where you'd come from, etc.
Yeah.
How do you separate those two now? I mean, how proud are you of the man that you are who plays a bit of rugby relative
Yeah.
to the rugby player you are?
I think
Do you want some water, mate?
no.
Sure?
The throat chakra is opening up. Do you remember
Mate,
when
I had that
saw-
on my first
Yeah, but
episode.
Johnny, when
get
you speak
DOMs, mate. I'm
when
not-
you speak your truth, that's what
Yeah,
happens.
it happens,
Like
yeah.
I saw that with you. I was cracking up.
We've got good editors, don't worry. We'll tidy it up.
It doesn't matter. You can put what you want to put in. For me, it's like you got to be careful with that sort of stuff, Alex, because like you can get attached to like I'm from this certain area, I've got a certain skin color, I'm from this kind of background, and I've made it to here, and like that was kind of part of my psyche in terms of like everyone's against me. Don't get me wrong, when I was coming up through the ranks and I was a young boy in South London who kind of was just trying to make it work, and it was just me and my mum, and I didn't grow up with a father figure. Definitely, you're allowed, like I'm justified to be like, okay, definitely there were some things against me. I went to a normal state school, but then very quickly, by the time I was 12 or 13 years old, Colin Osborne rocks up to a game for Battersea Ironsides to watch his son. I think we were playing KCS Wimbledon. He's the Harlequins backs coach. I'm in the Harlequins Academy at 12 years old. They only recruit at 16, but I was training with 16-year-olds because Colin didn't want to let me go. When I was 16, Edwin Doran for Epsom College, who's like an old Epsonian who used to go to the school. He sponsored Dylan and Stefan Armis used to go to Wellington. He then comes and pays for all my schooling, which is like 80 grand. Happy days. So it's like the whole narrative has changed very quickly. I was only in that situation for 15, 16 years. And obviously it's not a great area, but like I would be lying to you to say, like, honestly, Alex, I couldn't get in trouble. Like I'll tell you a story. When I went to school, like to secondary school, my mum, we walked from home to the school. Say, for instance, it took 16 minutes. She's like, okay, school finishes at 3 o'clock, 3:16 if you're walking. We waited for the bus. Say that takes 27 minutes. So she's like, if you're not home by 3:27, latest, you're in trouble. Like, I couldn't do anything wrong, like, because she was so on me. Like, it wasn't like I could ever, like, become a bad boy or get into any trouble. Like, I had a good family system around me, even though I didn't grow up with a father. Like, and in terms of the life story, I just think you have to be very careful when you attach yourself to those sort of things, where you're like, oh, I'm from South London, I'm this guy. And it's like, yes, I am from South London, but like, I haven't been there for a long time.
Yeah.
I moved out when I was like 16. I went to Epsom College, which is like one of the best schools in the world, fully paid for. Then I was like, played rugby, always like, you know, good academy contract. And obviously just been a professional rugby player since then, you know? So it's like, I appreciate the journey, but I'm always just very careful to try not to like attach myself in terms of an identity to be that kind of person, because at the end of the day, Alex, I always knew that there was something bigger than where I grew up, you know?
Yeah.
It's like I knew I wanted to leave this situation. That's why I worked so hard to be like where I am today, you know?
Which is brilliant. I mean,
Yeah.
what you've just said, I think is, you know, it's a different way of looking at it, but I imagine it takes a bit of working through to get to where you've got to. You said a really interesting thing earlier on, which is, I think you said 31, 32, whatever it is. You reach a point in your life where you've just got to own it. It is what it is, and you then got to get on with it.
Yeah.
So what, therefore, has been key since 2023 and the Rugby World Cup to where you are now? What is the change that you have made that has sort of altered your outlook, perspective, etc.? I mean, are you there? Are you on that journey? No,
I'm definitely on the journey, but I think it's more like with guidance, with my performance coach, with Margot Wells, with James Davis, with Remy Mobed, who, you know, kind of like the team I have around me. I've just stopped getting in my own way. Like, it's as simple as that. I've just stopped making excuses, stopped just being like, everyone's against me, when it's like, in actual fact, there's a lot of people, and like, I correct me if I'm wrong here, Jonny, but like when I'm on form and I'm like, I'm in camp and like I'm vibrant, like I'm a pleasure to be around, and the boys love me.
Boys
but like,
love playing with
but,
Sink.
yeah, but then like in camp sometimes I'll be like, oh my God, like this person said this to me, or like I would feel a type of way, and it's like when I actually step back from it, I'm like, mate, these boys absolutely loved me. Like people really looked up to me in that environment, but when I was in it, I was like such a victim that I always thought, like, say, like you're always going to get banter in rugby environments, but like say I might put a social out, someone's going to say something, and like when you're a victim like that, like you're going to take it so personal when it's actually not personal. Because the boys, honestly, like when I look back on it now, like they loved me, you know, but like I ruined my experience there because I was just such a victim of it. Do you know what I mean? And it's like, even Jonny being like there, like I kind of thought like the boys didn't really want me to go on the World Cup at the time, but it's like Jonny's like, fuck, like Sinks is like, he's a big player for us. Like, imagine if he does, you know, like even that, it's like, raw, like, you know. So it's like, it's all like, at the end of the day, your perception is your reality, isn't it?
Yeah.
And like my perception at that time was just like, everyone's against me, the world's against me, and no one likes me, and it was like the furthest thing from the truth. And like, I am my own worst enemy. And it's like, in terms of where I'm at in the journey, I've accepted it, and like, I wanna be better. I wanna be a good man. I wanna inspire, you know, anyone.
You are all of those
you know?
things, mate. You are
You
all
know?
of those things.
It's an interesting thing. It's like, control your controllables, the things that you are directly in charge of, but then sometimes the uncontrollables, you spend a lot of time. Like, people can say whatever there's so many easy ways of accessing.
Yeah.
If you want to play the social media game and everything else, that they can dive into your psyche, and you think what they're saying is actually, you then put that into your controllable of your friends and your family. You actually think, well, maybe they mean what these other guys say. They infiltrate. You know, all you can do is control your control.
One of the other great truisms of sport is that everybody loves a comeback.
Yeah, they love it.
You've teed that up now.
Yeah, it's coming.
You've got your opportunity.
It's coming.
Why is Toulon and potentially 2027?
2025.
2025.
Yeah, I'm aiming for that.
So have you been very open and honest about that?
This is the first interview I've done.
Yeah, but with
I haven't spoken
yourself
to
and
anyone.
with your mentors,
Yeah,
mentees?
that's what, like, you manifest your reality. Like, that's what, why not? Why can't I aim for that? Obviously, I know it's going to be difficult not playing international rugby, but you never know. Who knows? The laws might change.
There's a few people who could be in the same boat.
You know, so it's like, I think obviously there's a few guys who now are going over to France, but for me, it's like, actually, one of I won't say the person, but one of the someone who kind of helps me out, and he was like, "Oh, you know, it's a great move with you're like coming into like the twilight of your career." And I literally, if he wasn't like helping me out, kind of thing, and he's a real good guy, and we get on really well. When he said that, I was like, I kind of got my back up. I was like, twilight, like I'm not even in my prime yet. Do you know what I mean? And it's like, I genuinely, like, on my day, if I'm firing and like where I want to be in terms of where I am spiritually and mentally and physically, like I'm 31, I've probably played like 250 professional games near enough. Touch wood, never had any surgery. I feel better than I did when I was 21. I've got bags of experience. I've already been on 2 Lions tours. It's like, why can't I put my name in the hat and, you know, like give it my
you
best
look at
shot,
Coley,
you know?
who's 64 and still doing the job.
And to be fair, like someone like Coley, it's like that is someone who's like low key kind of like inspired me.
Gone
If you
about
look,
his business.
look
innit?
at him in 2019.
Yeah.
You know, someone he's just like was kind of scapegoated, as you do if you're the tight head. You take the responsibility, no matter when it goes good, when it goes bad, it always falls in your head. You take responsibility, you own it. He did that. He went away, never complained, got his head down, and now he's playing. He's back and he's playing at the highest level. So it's like, if he can do that, why can't I do that?
Yeah.
You know. So that's definitely what I want to aim for. You know. I've worked with Andy numerous times. I know what he wants. I know what he expects in his players. I know the honour it is. I've played 7 tests for the Lions. I've been on 2 Lions tours. Like, I'll be ready to go. And obviously, it's going to be so dependent on club, how they do. And obviously, Europe is probably going to be the main one when you get to go up against those international guys. But the reason I've made this move is to become a better rugby player. There's no sunshine, sitting on the beach and drinking wine. Like, I don't even drink wine. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm going there to become the best prop I can possibly become, because no matter who you face, whether it's Toulouse or Perpignan or Oyonnax or whoever it is, or what's the team? Angoulême?
Angoulême,
I guarantee you they've got a good scrum.
You won't be playing us, but
Yeah, no, but do you see what you
I know
get
what
where
you
you get where I'm taking you here, John? Do you know what I mean? Like, whoever you play, they've got
Big scrum,
massive
big
packs,
boys.
Yeah.
huge, and it's like that is the true acid test, in my opinion. You know, I could be. Well, I don't feel like I'm wrong, but in my opinion, as a prop, especially a tight head prop, if you can crack it there, you know, you're definitely on your way.
Something very healing about those Toulon waters as well. I think Jonny, who couldn't get 2 games together and then went and played 3 consecutive. I think Shawsey was 40 old when he went
still
down.
lives out there.
Yeah, he does.
I
doesn't he?
think Andrew Sheridan.
I was going to say, he
still
had
lives
all these injury
and
problems.
you're connected to the water. You
Yeah,
found
I'm connected to
you
mother,
found
the
your
mother.
closest water natural
Yeah,
stream.
literally
in Toulon.
where my place is. It's like just walk
there's
down
a
the
brook
hill,
running
He
through.
gets
down the
in the
hill
Sherry-
and by the
yeah.
beach.
Sherry
3 minute
definitely
walk.
did drink the wine there.
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
he's
he
got
did.
like a vineyard or something like that. But it's like,
He's a master sommelier.
yeah, it's for me. I'm unbelievably excited,
Yeah,
and
it's
it's
cool.
like, in order to go for a new challenge and a new opportunity, a door has to close. And it's like, as it stands, if you play abroad, you can't play for England. And it's like where I probably was in my relationship with how it kind of ended with Steve. It was like, it was probably for the best, you know. And it's like, I've got to go away now. I've got to work on myself. I've got to take full responsibility in every facet of my life and come back, hopefully, you know, get a chance in 2025. But I'll be ready to go in 2027, that's for sure. And I think playing in that league where, you know, hopefully you don't, like the train, like for me, John, I don't know if it's about difference with you. I can do the games. The games are no issues. It's the training. The training is what kills me. And obviously it's different, you know, your week of training is going to be different to mine, but it's like the contacts, the scrums, the mauls, you know, it's like...
That's something rugby hasn't got right.
Yeah.
But everybody would say that. I agree with that.
But it's like over there, from what I hear, the trainings are a lot more relaxed in terms of like contact and stuff like that. So hopefully it puts a few years on my career, you know. So I'm definitely looking forward to it.
I love it. How did Toulon come about? Did you pick up the phone to them, or your agent? Did they pick up the phone to you? Were there others in the race? How big
No,
was how big was the auction?
No, it was
A big cattle bid.
No, it was there was a few other teams, and then kind of like with the uncertainty, I have those central contractors and stuff.
Oh, God knows, mate.
What's that? Was anyone?
They're
know?
hybrids.
Yeah.
They're
Is that-
hybrids.
is it- it's yet to be
Nobody knows
revealed.
how to do
Yeah,
with
you know.
it.
So it was like one of my dreams coming up was to watch when I was to play for Toulon, but that was mainly because I'd watch Jonny. But by watching Jonny, I'd watch Carl Heyman.
Yeah.
And then I'd watch Chocky. Then I'd watch Craig Burden, and then I'd watch, you know, Kigi Yashvili, who played there, and like they've had some unbelievable props back, and obviously like Backy Bofa, Danny Rousseau, Joanne Smith. You know, it's a pretty illustrious club, and I don't think we kind of understand how big the club is until you go to Toulon. Like, I remember going there and I was like, whoa, like, this is different. Like, you go there, you're having dinner with the president, head of recruit, CEOs there, head coaches there. I thought I was in bloody FIFA Manager. Have you ever played that when you're trying to sign a player? You're like, this is nuts. And it's like, you know, this is we you know the expectations when you sign it. Like, this is they're building. They want to bring Toulon back to the top of European rugby.
Yeah.
And like, I'm going there to fulfill my part of the deal and give them everything I've got. And it was like before we even started with the videos going of the game on the weekend.
Who sent this to you? Your
my landlord. Yeah. Because I was like, I've never been there, so I was like, he loves it, and I was like, I'll just send me some videos when
He
when
sent
you're
you the
there.
Pilu teams running like flares in the street.
70 videos. He absolutely loves it. I was like, I get a gist of it now. Like, you don't have to keep sending it, but like, they just love it.
Yeah.
Like, the whole town, everything goes through the rugby club. Like, it's in the centre of town, you know. So it's like, it'll be an unbelievable experience for me.
Have you chatted to Dave Ribbons at all? Who's
Yeah, I've
obviously out there?
spoken to Rugby.
Yeah.
He's their player of the season. He's re-signed for another 2 years. He said he absolutely loves it, the work-life balance.
There's quite a few like English.
Lewis Ludlam's going.
Lewis
on.
is there, but Dan Bigger's there, Ben White's there.
Ben White, yeah.
And then you've got obviously quite a few of the Islander boys like Leicester,
Fine
Brian, and a few like Juta, a few Fijian guys. So no, it'll be honestly, I'm a big believer. Life's always
exciting.
Yeah,
isn't it?
life's
It's
meant to be
exciting.
lived, and I always try to learn from all the players around me. And it was like, I remember coming up at Quins and seeing guys who, you know, were like Quins through and through, and like stuck it out and were there like no matter what. And it was like, by the end, it was like, you know, same with any club. If you know what it's like, Jonny, if you stick around for 12 and Tins, like you stick around there for so long, it's like they kind of take you for granted. And then speaking to players, I remember, you know, speaking to like Minty or like Jordan Turner Hall, and they'd be like, man, I wish I had this opportunity to go abroad, but like, I just, you know, I didn't want to take it. And it was like, man, okay, if I get that opportunity, I'm going to not make the same mistake those guys did, you know? And it's like, I want to experience stuff. I want to experience life. And
I was adamant about doing my last season at Gloucester.
Yeah.
And I thought I would, but I'm just so excited now.
Yeah.
And I spoke to Will Greenwood at Hambo's dinner, which would have been just at the New Year. He said, I just wish I'd gone abroad. Like,
it's because you only know one way.
The start of your new
Chapter
beginnings.
2.
Yeah,
Yeah, we only know one way. It's like, okay, who knows? Like, you know, eating dinner at 9 p.m. for 3 hours might be the way
Siestas.
forward. You know, like we don't know. Like, we can't say. I feel like sometimes we're like so stuck in our ways and being like, oh, this is the right way to do things. Until you try something else and try a different experience, you don't really know. So
are you saying that your strategy might change in France?
Yeah, I want
both of you
for the start.
Because
Turn
obviously
into Oliver Reed.
we spent a lot of time on prep earlier, but then obviously the prep could be very different over there. So
Carafe of Vin Rouge and a plate of
it's
cheese.
this week first, and like I said, if this week goes well, I'll have some serious questions to ask myself at the end of it because I will be confused.
Yeah.
But no, it's for Sink. I'm pleased that he's got to speak and so openly, and like I said at the start about this guy is all in and he is obsessed with getting better, and we've seen that with how he's spoken and how hard he is on himself and how he wants to get better. And we're all on that journey. Like, I'm stepping back now, probably reviewing how I've been and what I've done, and I'm probably thinking, yeah, I did beat myself up a bit too much, and I definitely did some things to my own detriment at the time. But we're always learning and just wanting to get better, and Sinks is that. Sinks is the guy who just wants to get better.
It's short. By the time I remember being 18, that new kid on the block, and by the time you blink, I'm 31. I'm like, I don't feel 31. Not that 31's
You don't
old.
look 31 either. The back is definitely not one of a 31-year-old.
Do you know what? I feel like I look better than I was when I was 20, 21.
You look good, mate. Wait, who's cutting your hair this week? You need a trim before you play.
I've got all, Jonny, I've got it all sorted. We're back in London. I've got everything.
a barber in
Yeah,
the
that's
garage?
all sorted,
He takes
everything's
a
sorted.
wherever we go. Since he's got a barber in Tokyo.
Yeah,
He got us a
Payno
barber in
must be
Tokyo. He got us a
incredible.
barber Tokyo. He gets us a barber wherever we've been on tour. Sinks gets our haircut for us.
Yeah.
Right.
So I've got everything sorted, but I feel good, man. Like, I feel really good, and like, I just think, you know, it's as long as you learn. Like, I think that's the main thing. Is like, as long as you learn from your mistakes, you know, and like actually action them, as opposed to being like, oh, I messed up, and then 6 months later go and do the same thing again. You know, it's about actually evolving, learning, maturing, and just becoming like a better man.
2 quick questions before we do our Continental Tires quiz of the week, which I know you're very excited about.
Yeah.
Firstly, did you say to Steve, this is Abianto rather than au revoir? You've been doing your Duolingo, which I know has been
Had a
coming
French
along nicely.
tutor as well.
Abiento,
But have you
see
left
you
your-
tomorrow.
Yeah, we'll see you soon as
See you
opposed to
soon.
goodbye type
Yeah.
thing. Is it a kind of, I'll be back and I will come back a better player and I want you to consider me when I do? Or did you just say, I'm off, we'll talk again when we talk?
I think with Steve, it's like he don't want words.
Okay.
There's no point like having a long conversation. Like me and Steve have had the long conversations. You know, Steve wants words are futile. Like they mean nothing. It's like, okay, I've heard it all before. Can I see it?
Right.
Can I see it consistently every week? Can I see it? You know, as opposed to like, I was feeling this and all that. Like Steve, he hasn't got time to.
But that's all.
To be-
That's
yeah.
all you can do.
Yeah,
Yeah.
literally.
isn't it, in your position.
Yeah.
Is you go right. Look, actions speak louder than
Yeah.
words, and then once the actions are
Yeah.
repeating yourself every week,
Exactly.
then you can have a knock on the
Look
door.
at like
and pick
Jack
up the
Willis.
phone.
You can't ignore what he's doing at the
Yeah.
moment.
Yeah.
Imagine if Sinks is just, which he will be, he'll be demolishing scrums in the top 14, and you won't be able to ignore what Sinks is doing next year.
Yeah.
But it's like, even in terms of that relationship, it's like, I've worked with Steve since 2015, 2016, been on a Lions tour with him, and
He knows
like
you.
I know Steve, like, and he knows me, but like I've basically, I don't think it's too bad now. Like hopefully we can get back there, but like I've done a lot to like basically sabotage that relationship for no reason.
Yeah.
Like he came in, he picked me for that first Six Nations. No matter what happened, like he stuck with me, he had my back. I remember leading up to the World Cup, he would call me and like Steve's, you know, like his thing is rugby and like coaching you, but like I know if I get a call from Steve to see how I am, like you must like me, do you know what
Yeah.
I mean? Like, because he's like Steve's not going to do that for everyone. Like we were in a good position and like I've stuffed it up. Like I really did stuff it up because I played every game that Six Nations. I was probably one of our most consistent players throughout that whole tournament. Our scrum went from having the worst scrum to having the best scrum, that Six Nations. And then throughout that whole World Cup, like pre-season to the end of it, I just ruined that relationship during that process. And it's quite disheartening for myself because that's someone who I've worked with for over 10 years and we've had a lot of success together.
Yeah.
And I know he would have trusted me and I let him down.
Yeah.
So it's like you have to take responsibility and there's no shirking that. There's no shirking that. It's like accept it. So like me calling Steve and saying I'm doing this, I'm doing that, he doesn't want to hear that. He wants me to be at my best.
So let me rephrase the question then, which is 2025. Obviously, you've set
Yeah.
up here, and I'll be ready to go.
Yeah.
Is 2027 almost the sort of the opportunity to write what you've
That's
described
the
as a bit of a
redemption
wrong?
story.
That's the redemption.
Yeah, that's the
story.
redemption
And how
story.
motivating is that for you for all that's to come over the
Oh
next
yeah,
years?
100%. It's definitely long-term goal and vision where I want to be. But like from my experiences and what I learned in the last cycle, like that one is going to come around real fast. By the time you blink, the next World Cup will be here. You'll be
Yeah.
like, whoa, like what's happened? So it's like making every day count in terms of like, what do I need to do today for me to be the best professional and the best rugby player? Like my whole life is evolved around me being the best possible rugby player I can be and an inspirational role model for others and helping others through my rugby. Like everything's connected. Like I have no excuse. I've literally got the best people around me in France. I'm pretty sure they're just going to leave me to do what I want to do, which is music to my ears. I have no excuses, you know, and I think that's the way it's meant to be because like if I get it right, then the world's my oyster. But obviously if I get it wrong, I've got no one else to blame but myself. So, yeah.
An amazing show on which to finish. We are going to do our quiz. We've done, I don't know how many shows we've done, 60, 70, 80 shows this year. And I think this has genuinely been one of my absolute favourites. It's another show where we learn much more about the man than the player type thing. Why do you never do more of this? You speak so well and so
I know,
openly.
but
and so
I think
in
a
such an
lot of that
inspiring
comes
fashion.
down to where my mindset was in thinking people were against me and always like not targeting me, but like I was afraid to be myself, you know, and
We've
like
heard
I'm
this
kind
before.
of
That's exactly.
and
like,
it's
why would you? You've got enough stress on your plate and enough
Yeah.
judgment going on. Why put yourself out there for more judgment and heat, and regardless of whether it's good or bad, it's
Yeah.
more.
And it's
when
just,
you're-
yeah.
But it's also that thing. I don't want to go back to stereotypical. It's a man thing, but like shared experiences are always. You'll always figure out there's more people who are in that headspace than there are than you think there are.
Yeah.
Whereas you always in your own head, you think you're the only one who thinks that way.
Yeah.
It's just not. It's just never true, and it's never the case. And it goes back to that group for so long where media people were saying we need to hear more from the players.
Yeah.
It's our generation, our core group of players that we did 2019. We are probably a very anti-media.
Yeah.
but that's built from the environment.
It's
that you're
built
in
from the
there.
environment. It is, and you get told how to answer press, to stay away from press. Social media
I
is
think
not good.
that's my biggest thing is actually not just being. You know what it's like when you guys do interviews with players and it's like, fuck, I could have just wrote that myself, like generic answers and stuff like that. It's
Media
actually
handbook.
Yeah, but like sometimes, like honestly,
But they give you the answer.
yeah, like literally, I'd come on the phone to my mentor sometimes, and he'd be like, "You're giving me Sky Sports." Do you know what I mean? Like, what are you doing? Like, you're not even
Game
you
of two halves.
do you know
We'll
what
be
I
back
mean?
next
It's like
week.
actually okay. Like, who am I? Like, what do I actually feel, and like, what do I actually think? And it's like, don't get me wrong, feeling certain. Obviously feelings was all good, but like in the same breath it's like sometimes like for us it's like okay, you feel a certain thing but you just got to get it done. You got to get the job done, and it's like especially in a high pressured environment like elite sport when you're playing for your country and you're playing on Lions tours, like it's about okay being under the most amount of pressure and you've got stresses off the field and whatever's happening at home, but it's like can you execute in the biggest moment, like when it matters, and that's like for me anyway, like where I want to be in terms of like getting to that moment again, like everything's on the line and like it's the biggest moment and it's like I'm ready. Whereas when I came onto that field in 2023, I wasn't ready. Like if I literally rewatched me running onto the field, head down, body language all over the shop, I wasn't ready. And fair play to Ox, the guy's a freak and he absolutely, was the better man on the day. But like experience is the best teacher, and without that, I'm truly grateful for that experience. And I know it happened, and it let a lot of people's expectations and hopes and all that sort of stuff. Like I truly am sorry, but like for me personally, it was the best thing that's ever happened to me. Like genuinely, like it's been an absolute game changer, and that was the only way I would have learned, because everything was just like, I always managed to kind of get away with it, So it was like that moment I got found out, and it was like, whoa, I need to fix up, and I've just been on that journey ever since, and I'll continue to be on that journey. And like you said, 2025, I definitely want to put my name in there. I feel like I'm good enough. I'll be ready. I'll be playing in. Obviously I'm biased now, but I'll be playing in the best league in the world, and I'll be ready. And then 2027, I definitely will be ready. I'll definitely be ready.
We'll clip this up and send it via email to andy.farrell@lions.com. It'll be the first email when he opens it.
Again with him though, it's action.
Yeah.
It's
That actually was his email.
Yeah,
Good.
exactly.
Someone test it for
Bet
us.
someone
probably
tries
is.
it.
I'll just message Faz for the number and be like,
Yeah,
hey mate, can I
exactly.
get your dad's number quickly?
What is so exciting for you is the comeback is there.
Yeah.
And what that does is it leads very nicely, if you like your segues, into our Continental Tires quiz of the week. Man U fan?
I was when I was a kid growing up.
When did you give up?
Probably when I was like 13 or
So what
14,
year would
because
that
I was
be?
like, I'm from South London. Like they're all the way in
Where
Manchester.
all the Man United fans
so I
are,
was like,
exactly,
this
within
doesn't
the
make sense.
M25.
I love football. I love sport anyway.
Do you
so,
remember
yeah.
the 99 treble?
Of course I do.
Okay,
Yeah.
so
This is
Your-
going to blow people's minds
No,
what he
we'll
does
see.
your
now.
Continental Tires quiz of the week is: can you name the starting 11 for the 1999 treble match
I love it.
against Bayern Munich?
Dwight York, Andy Cole, Jasper Blomqvist, left midfield. Did Jasper Blomqvist play?
Yeah,
Definitely.
yeah, he did.
David Beckham played in the centre of
Yeah, he
midfield
did.
with Nicky Butt.
Yes.
I love it.
Right hand side midfield. We'll get Ryan Giggs on the right.
Correct.
Then right back would have been Gary Neville.
Correct.
Centre back, Yapstam,
Yep. And
Ronnie Berg.
Johnson.
Ronnie Johnson, sorry.
Correct.
Left back, Dennis Irwin.
Correct.
Peter Schmeichel on goal.
11 out of 11. not just a
Give him
pretty
another
face.
one. Somebody do something else.
That was remarkable. Have you watched the 99 doc?
Yeah, I have.
How good?
Yeah, unbelievable. I live for that sort of stuff. I honestly live.
To give him some more, I love it.
Why would you give him one?
Well, I don't know. We've got a whole team here. Quickly ask him to start.
We only do one Continental Tires quiz of the week, and he's nailed it. A couple of bits before we go. So it's the final of the PWR this weekend. The reigning champs, including our very own. Go on, Mo. Gloucester Hartbury are taking on Bristol Bears at Sandy Park. This is this Saturday. Tickets, I think, are still available. They're on the Exeter Chiefs website. So are tickets to the Good, the Scaz and the Rugby's pre-match live show. Elmer will be there, joined by Scaz and Katie Daly-McLean, and a few other very special guests as well to give you all the build-up to the big final. You'll get a glass of Prosecco and a bacon roll included in your ticket, all for just £10.50 for an adult, £5.50 for a child. They obviously don't get the Prosecco, or perhaps they do and they can give it to you, or drink responsibly, however you want to do your breakfast. Perhaps a little orange juice for them. Head over to Good Scaz
That's
Rugby.
going to be Johnny's breakfast from now on.
What's that?
After this week,
Yeah.
he's just
A little
going to drink
believe
Prosecco.
After this episode, Sinks is make it feel like a therapy. Feel like we need a drink, mate.
Yeah, exactly. It began in the Good Bad Rugby studio,
Yeah.
like all appalling ideas. Good Scaz Rugby, head there for more information. That's on socials. Good luck to Mo. Let's hope it's a fantastic final. It's also another blockbuster day of rugby at Twickenham Stadium this Saturday. 60,000 tickets already sold. Kicking off at 2:00 is South Africa in their first match since the Rugby World Cup, taking on Wales in the Qatar Airways Cup, and that's followed at 5:15 with the Barbars, including a hungover Jonny May, a drunk Kyle Sinckler,
No,
facing Rugby World Cup quarterfinalists Fiji in the Killick Cup. One ticket, 2 matches. Buy now, England Rugby or Ticketmaster.
I can't believe that's South Africa's first game since the Rugby World Cup final. That's
know.
mental.
Yeah, well, they're going into the summer tours and then championship in it. So.
Rugby coming at you from everywhere this weekend. And a reminder, the lock-in is available for the ardent fans, all 7 of you. And on this week's show, Johnny tells a joke, which is well worth your £3 subscription. If you haven't, please do join us, subscribe, etc. Thank you. Real honesty, an amazing show. Quite therapeutic in some ways, or just sort of another day
So
in the life
happens
of
when
the
you
Sink.
speak your truth, man. You know.
Good man.
So
Good luck for all that is to come. This
Thank you.
weekend, I think you might need more luck for this week /weekend than anything.
no,
that
we'll be good.
Varsity will throw.
We're very disciplined athletes. We'll
find a way.
We'll get the balance right.
We'll find a
Enjoy
way.
yourselves, but you know,
I hope it's a hell of an
Where
experience.
there's a will, there's a may.
no, it'll be good. It'll be good fun, man.
Let's see what we've done there. May the best man win.
Yes.
Any more?
May the force be with us.
Very good. May this be the end of the show. We have been the Good, the Bad, and the Rugby with our friends.
He is quite clever, isn't he? Funny, witty.
We've been the Good, the Bad, and the Rugby with our friends at Continental Tires. It's been a hell of a season, actually. We have enjoyed so many thrills and spills, and we are very, very grateful to all of you who tune in, who subscribe, who listen, who leave feedback, who send abuse, etc. It's all part of the Good, the Bad, and the Rugby, and hopefully you've enjoyed 1 or 2 bits along the way with us. Stats and facts provided by Oval Insights. We are a folding pocket production. This episode was produced by Tom Edwards. Enjoy the rugby this weekend. Enjoy a mega off-season as well, and we will see you next time around. I think we're back in September. Obviously tuning in via the power of the summer tours as well. We'll be bringing you little updates off the back of the England games. Wales in Australia, Ireland in South Africa as well. But thank you for your company throughout the course of this season. Enjoy your downtime, your summer holidays, etc. And we'll see you for what is going to be a mega season next time around with the Lions at the end of it. That's it from all of us. Enjoy your summers. Bye for now.